This troubled man, pleading for leniency, claimed his children changed him. So the judge, weighing his plea, decided the law must still be upheld.
And I understand that was who I was. In these last 5.5 months that I've been incarcerated, I've learned my lesson. I have time to sit down and think. Me and Jasmine have kids together, which are currently in foster care right now.
No,
I understand.
no, when you say you all have children together that are currently in foster care, your witness testified at the previous hearing that Jasmine needed a place for her and her children to stay. Usually when people say her children, that means that they're not your biological children.
They're my biological children.
Who just needed a place to stay with her children. That's the way the testimony was given to me. So that means that she should have been under the housing.
She wasn't under the housing because a week before I got housing, I found out it was my baby mama was cheating on me.
You mean the mother of your children?
Mother of my children. She was cheating on me. I eventually got over it and I forgave her, and I had asked her to come back home because she had my kids. The only reason why I allowed her to come back was because I wanted to be with my kids. My kids are everything to me. They're the reason why I'm not in prison as right now.
All right. The court will sentence you to 5 years in the prison. All right. Court is calling 2024 CR 012731 State versus Cody Lane Cross. Could I have parties announced for the record for the state?
Rick Pena for the state of Texas.
Defense?
Morning, Judge Mark Garland for the defendant, Cody Kraus.
And are you Cody Cross?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. You entered a plea of no contest to count 4 on February 3rd. The state waived counts 1, 2, and 3 without objection. And defense counsel waived a PSI. Is that correct, defense?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so we're here for sentencing. According to your plea bargain agreement, the state is proceeding on count 4 only. They're asking that your punishment be assessed at a cap of 6 years in the prison. There's a $1,500 fine. The state will make no recommendation to your application for community supervision. And the state opposes your application for deferred adjudication. This is run concurrent with 2024 CC 742862. State is taking in consideration 2024 CC 742860 and 2024 AL 004803. And there's to be no contact with the complainant. Defense, do you have any witnesses?
I don't, Your Honor, but an issue that arose at the last date that the court was ready to sentence Mr. Kraus was you had asked me to contact the Durant County, Oklahoma clerk for purposes of trying to find out what was going on up there, and I have some information for the court.
Oh, yes.
So, Your Honor, he's got a one case number with 2 misdemeanor charges in Durant County, Oklahoma. The pending charges up there are driving under the influence of dangerous and possession of dangerous. So again, apparently the way they do it up there is one case number, but 2 counts, so to speak. So I going further in my conversation with the clerk, again, I know this is hearsay, but having heard no objection, I wanted to tell you that what the clerk represents is that like Texas, she doesn't know if they're going to place a hold on him here and come and get him within 10 days. So I can't make any representations to the court in that regard. If they, just based on my experience for misdemeanors, I generally speaking, I'd find it unusual for one state to go pick up another. But again, that's kind of anecdotal, and I know you know as well as anyone what the likelihood of that is. But in any case, Judge, we're asking that the court grant Mr. Kraus deferred adjudication. And I know that probation has also been applied for and that the state is neutral on our application for probation, but it's our position that if you give him regular probation, then he'll be somewhat hamstrung potentially in terms of his ability to obtain gainful employment because he'll have a felony conviction. So with all due respect, we'd ask that if he has a chance at some sort of community supervision, that it be deferred so he's not addled with the felony conviction if he goes forth and tries to succeed. And just as a reminder for the court, we had a witness named Ms. Regalado, who's here again today, that testified about his time in the foster care system and stuff like that. So he's had a rough go of it. And then finally, I'd ask the court to take notice that his actions have not been without consequence. He's done a lot of days in jail. And so again, we're asking the court to grant him deferred adjudication at this time.
All right, and the court remembers the previous testimony. And correct me if I'm wrong, if my memory is wrong, but I believe the witness testified that the complainant was not supposed to be on the housing. It was just the defendant, and the defendant allowed or requested that the complainant be under his housing so that she and her children would have a place to stay. Is that correct?
Maybe misremembering, but I think it's something along those lines.
All right. All right, state you're opposed.
Or, yes. The previously stated at the last hearing, the criminal history that he has, in the new charges up in Oklahoma, we feel that deferred adjudication would be inappropriate for this case. We are silent though as to his application for police.
All right, so this is what the court is wrestling with. But for the fact that this was his housing and the complainant technically was not supposed to be living under his housing voucher, but he took her in because she had children. If that issue wasn't there, you'd be going to prison. It would not be any type of constraint for me as far as sending you to prison. But I have to sort of weigh that. But then on the other hand, I'm weighing it with what I'm reading in the police report. That's an issue for me. Because what I'm reading in the police report is she called saying that you were in violation of your bond and were attempting to break down her door, which is your residence, and that you were just placed in jail for the same thing. And you had the no contact order in place, but you still went over there. So I don't know if you want to address that. And you're telling the officers, it's just a misdemeanor. So do you want to address that for the court? I mean, if you don't have to. I mean, you waived your right to remain silent by entering into this plea. But if you don't want to address it, you don't have to. But that's my concern. My concern is that you knew you were not supposed to be there. You were just released from jail. And it states, upon my arrival, and this is the police, I identified suspect 1 by asking his name, to which matched the key card, and I placed suspect in handcuffs. Suspect stated he just got out of jail at approximately 1 a.m. and arrived at the location on bus because he just wanted a place to sleep. Suspect stated that the listed location was his home and that he did not know he had a protective order. Suspect, however, contradicted himself by stating he made contact with the witness 1, that's Jasmine, through the phone, asking witness 1 to leave. I explained to suspect that he was not allowed to have any contact with witness 1. Suspect stated he did know he had no contact order with witness 1 while in the back seat of my patrol car. They patted you down for weapons. And while in the back of the patrol car, I gave commands for suspect to move his feet inside the patrol car, which suspect became non-compliant. I informed suspect it would be in his best interest to comply, so he would not catch an additional charge for resisting arrest, search, and transportation. Suspect stated it's just a misdemeanor. And then you proceeded to kick the car door. And then the other problem is, witness stated officers were at the listed location earlier this morning. Witness stated that during that incident, she reported the suspect calling her, threatening to harm her, and suspect stated he was going to show up to the above listed residence. And so there's a police report for that. And then it says you showed up at the above listed residence at approximately 5:55 hours by transportation of the via bus to the residence. Witness then stated prior to Officer Watts and my arrival, suspect was attempting to enter the residence by kicking the door with his foot and hitting the door with a rock. I observed what were shoe marks located on the door near the lower side of the door handle. Witness also stated suspect threw a rock at the door and attempted to throw it at the apartment balcony door, where I observed the rock located on the apartment balcony. So, do you want to say anything?
Your Honor,
You want to raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
so,
All right, and then it says, suspect stated that when he showed up to the residence, he was going to kick witness 2, Christopher Nunn, in the head and stomp on his chest. Suspect then made threats to witness 3, Dylan Moore, stating he was going to catch him and beat him up. All right, what would you like to say?
so with that being said, I know what the paperwork says, Your Honor, and, please.
I'm sorry, you need to speak up. I can't hear you.
I know what the paperwork said, and I understand that's, that was who I am, who I was. And these last 5.5 months that I've been incarcerated, I've learned my lesson. I have time to sit down and think. Me and Jasmine have kids together, which are currently in foster care right now.
No,
I
they,
understand.
no, when you say you all have children together that are currently in foster care, your witness testified at the previous hearing that Jasmine needed a place for her and her children to stay. Usually when people say her children, that means that they're not your biological children.
They're my biological children.
They are your biological children? Okay.
I don't know why she said it was like that, but they're my children. Xavier Krause and Emery Krause. I just had a baby girl. I just
All right,
had-
that changes thing for the, that changes things for the court then, because I thought this was a complainant who just needed a place to stay with her children.
this is
That's the way the
mother-
testimony was given to me, that they were not your biological children.
This is the mother of my children.
Okay.
We've been together for it would have been 5 years last year in November.
All right, so that means that she should have been under the housing then.
She wasn't under the housing, when she made the statement, calling and, she wasn't there for the first 2 months that I was supposed to get a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, was because I found a week before I got housing, I found out my baby mama was cheating on me.
You mean the mother of your children?
Mother of my children, she was cheating on me. So we broke things off and I went off and got the apartment by myself. I eventually got over it and I forgave her within that 1 month and a half. And I had asked her to come back home because she had my kids out in College Station. And the only reason why I allowed her to come back was because I wanted to be with my kids. My kids are everything to me. They're the reason why I'm not in prison as right now. Because, Your Honor, I should be in prison for a lot more worse things, but I'm not. And because of my children, they have made me to the person I am today. I would, I would really like the probation because I really have learned my lesson, Your Honor. I really have. This is a very long 5.5 months that I've been incarcerated, and I really, really, really know that I'm not supposed to contact Jasmine, and that won't be an issue.
How long were you in custody before you went to the home trying to kick the door in?
8 days, exactly.
Okay.
And I was still furious because I know for a fact only me and God would know that I didn't do anything to that girl but come home that night from St. Louis from my dad's.
So did you threaten her on the phone?
No, I did not threaten her.
So you stipulated to it.
I threatened Dylan because I told him that he's gonna have to, at that time, he was gonna have to fight with me because he went and because I was allowing him to stay with me. Granted that I have housing that none of them are supposed to be there with me, but I'm risking my house to help others, help him. And
It's a sad situation that you're allowing random people to stay in a house and you have young children.
It wasn't a random person. It was Mr. Christopher, her brother, his family friend. It was somebody that basically his brother. I never threatened Christopher at all. I actually have him.
No, it's as though no one's looking out for the children. You have a 2-bedroom apartment that the taxpayers are helping
No,
you
a one
secure. Well, a 1-bedroom apartment that you're having taxpayers help you with. And you have the mother of your children in there. How many children do you have? You have 2 children. You have yourself. I'm assuming there's one bathroom. And now you're bringing in random people that the taxpayers didn't agree to pay for.
Your Honor, I have a huge heart. That's
No,
I
because
really
here's
do.
the thing. I don't understand why people get free things through the taxpayers because we're paying for it. And then your free heart is really not free. You're giving what somebody has given to you and paid for, and you're acting as though, it's your money when it's not. When you have these funded places that are funded by the taxpayers, you're not supposed to have everybody living with you. This Dylan person who you're saying is a friend of the mother of your children, you really don't know anything about him. And you're letting him stay in here, this random guy, be around your children. That's not a good parent.
We didn't. At the time he was living with us, we didn't have the children.
Oh, where were the children?
With a family friend because we were dealing with a CPS case.
This just keeps getting worse. Any questions?
Just a brief question, Judge. So are you right now obligated to perform a CPS service plan? Do you have obligations to CPS so that you can try to maintain your parental rights?
Case right now, the CPS caseworker comes and sees me every month.
Okay. And is that another reason you're asking Judge Boyd to consider probation so that you can perform your service plan?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Pass the witness, Judge.
And where are the children?
The children are with the family friend that was that they've been in custody with for the past 5 months.
All right. And when you went to go kick down this door or attempted to kick down this door, were the children in?
No, ma'am.
So CPS was already involved. All right. This is what the court is going to do. Court is finding you guilty. This will run concurrent with 2024 CC 742862. Taking consideration 2024 CC 742860, 2024 AL 004803. There should be no contact with Jasmine Nunn, N-U-N-N. And the court will sentence you to 5 years in the prison, give you credit for any time served, and I'll request the therapeutic community. Did you review the document entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Rights to Appeal with your attorney? Did you understand it and did you sign it?
Your Honor, may I ask you a question?
Sure.
Why am I going to prison?
Why are you going to prison?
Breaking into my own apartment.
All right. Let me explain something to you, and I'm sure your attorney explained it to you. When you have a protective order, in that protective order, it tells you what you're not allowed to do. Usually in a protective order, it will tell you there are certain locations you can't go to. There are certain people you can't be around. I'm sure in your protective order, it states that you were not allowed to be around Jasmine Nunn. You did it anyway. I'm sure in the protective order, it told you were not to go to that location. You did it anyway. That's a court order. When you violate court orders, that's a signal to the court that you're probably not going to abide by conditions of probation. Did you review the document entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Rights to Appeal with your attorney? Did you understand it and sign it? Because this is a plea bargain agreement, because I followed your plea bargain agreement, and because you waive your right to appeal, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. Because this is a felony conviction, you're not allowed to own or possess any weapons or ammunition. If you have a question over what a weapon or ammunition is, you'll need to speak to your attorney. Counsel, did you go over the trial court certification of defendant's rights to appeal with your attorney?
I did, Judge.
And did he sign that?
He did.
All right, thank you.
This broken father, trapped in bad habits, drove his children away with every poor decision. So, the judge, unyielding, handed down a sentence that mirrored the life he had chosen.
I have nothing else to help you out. Do you have any children?
No,
What are their ages?
23 and 14.
All right, and does a 14-year-old live with you? When's the last time you saw your children?
So about 3 months.
Why? Why is that?
Her mom just, you know how it is.
No, I don't know how it is.
Well, I call her, I contact her almost every day, but it's only on by the phone.
Are they in Bear County?
She's in church.
Well, if you behave appropriately, if you are a good mom, you wouldn't want your child around somebody who's doing this, right? There's another thing. Maybe she doesn't want her child around somebody smoking, and the officer is saying that your vehicle smelled of, and then in the police report, you admit that there's in the car. Nobody wants their child to smell like. You are supposed to set a good example for him. You understand?
No, I do.
All right, the court is going to sentence you to 2 years in the state jail facilities.